Floor it. We gotta lose...
Don't worry, Juji. Doesn't look like anyone's following us.
We made it! Well done, everybody!
The Corcione family.
I guess our next stop is Metaslika Imperial University to meet Wong's contact.
Yes, let's go. To Metaslika.
If there is a god, he must have a nasty sense of humor. Why else give a man who's lived so long yet another chance to make a fool of himself?
People don't like to stay dead in this franchise, do they?
Don Corcione, the drug lord. His real name is Denito Corcione. All of Metaslika is under his control. The area is known as a scenic tourist spot, but he's made it his center of operations.
Whew. Looks like we hooked ourselves a big one.
Another mafia organization controlled the area until recently, but they gave up all of their territory after only a few weeks.
I think I smell a rat.
You're right about that. There's no question that Corcione had the help of the Orgmen. Now he has a private army. Probably wants to be more than just a drug lord. I wonder if he's gearing up for some kind of war.
We're almost there.
Well, if he's got an army, we're probably going to encounter some heavy resistance. Like we haven't already with all of his goons. Alright, so stage 4. And that kind of gives the spoiler right there, but I won't say anything more about that.
So sorry to keep you waiting. I'm Guido Bortoli.
You're the one Mr. Wong told us about.
Yes. My family was allied with the Gatto gang before it was wiped out by Corcione. This disc contains everything I know about Don Corcione. Please, get revenge for me and my family.
Now that's smarts.
Now that looks like it hurt.
What is you? Everything just passes right through you.
This isn't good, Mika. We're completely surrounded.
These guys are different from the enemies we've been fighting.
They seem very well trained. Are they soldiers?
Just what is going on here? Everywhere we go, the enemy's waiting for us.
We'll talk about that later. Right now, we gotta get out of here.
Can I ask one question? Anyone have experience fighting soldiers? Neither do we. We've got to come up with a plan. We don't have a prayer if we split up like we've been doing. But we've got to get out of here somehow.
Come on, Mika, have faith. You don't know what we've been up against in the past. If you've seen the anime, you know that Grave has put up against some very formidable opponents already. So he basically has fought anything but soldiers, so he's basically a soldier himself, actually, when you think about it. I think he'll be fine. Besides, the immortal zombie with 2 hand cannons and a coffin strapped to his back should be more than a match. Actually, in all reality, these are some pretty tough enemies. There's a new enemy type for every different variety of enemies. Small enemies, the large enemies, the melee guys, the heavy guys with the machine guns. There's all of them have a soldier variant now. We're fighting the mercenary unit is what these guys are. And they also have annoying flashbangs, which every game has to have annoying flashbangs, right? At least every shooter. And yeah, they're terrible. They're just as terrible as you think they would be. I'm actually taking cover over here in this corner, so I don't have to fight all of them at once. And you can actually exit this room into the hallway there and be out in the open, which I think is to your disadvantage in this case. I'd rather just stay here and deal with the big guys. If I didn't say so before, the M60s that these guys have a grenade launcher on them that you cannot dodge, or you cannot reflect it back at them or anything. So unfortunately, we just have to look out for a visual cue of how they're holding it to see if they're going to launch it at us. These guys have a different sound effects, different voices, different death sound effects than the other enemies we've been fighting. We should be able to plow right through these big guys with the swords. The guy with that rocket launcher might be a different story. But yeah, this is actually a pretty challenging level. These guys are much tougher, and the sheer numbers that they come in means this is probably where you're going to get your first death if you haven't died already. Anything to bring some more variety to the table. Because obviously we have the guys we've been fighting before. We have the org men. And now we have these guys. During that cutscene, when the truck was escaping, the song that plays there is called Hit the Jackpot. And it's the only time in the game series it actually plays, but it plays a couple times in the anime early on. It's one of the more upbeat tracks that you don't really get to hear too often. The soundtrack for Gungrave Overdose is a combination of the music from the first game and from the anime, and it also has a few original tracks, but not many notable ones. The anime soundtracks were actually named after the guns, left head and right head, and supposedly there was a soundtrack released for the game on CD. I'm gonna have to pick that up actually, because that's one thing I don't own as far as Gungrave goes. It's funny, in the Night Tower archives, there is a lot of. It shows basically every product that was made, all the merchandise that was made for Gungrave. There was quite a bit, but none of it really got outside of Japan. So I'm sure it's very hard to come by now for a franchise that's so old. But I've seen that soundtrack on our website before, so I'll probably try to track it down. Alright, so this room is going to be pretty dangerous. There's a bunch of, I don't know if we're in I guess we're in a university, and there's, this is like the library or something like that. Like, there's a bunch of bookcases in the background there, and those are going to be knocked over inevitably. Oh, here's a new gameplay mechanic I was going to demonstrate. That's the pose, the strike a pose move, which we had in the first game, but it didn't really have any use. Supposedly in this game it has a stun effect, but I've never been able to get it to do anything. It just has a nice little flashy explosion effect that it creates. I try to use it at appropriate times just for stylistic reasons. I think it also affects your art count down there in the corner, but I haven't found a way to abuse that or manipulate it. It's really just for show. There's really no way to implement it and make it useful. Yeah, sure enough, these bookshelves are getting destroyed. Along with everything else in the room. That's one thing this game definitely has, is a lot of great destructible environments. Ow, we took a bad hit there. Pretty soon we're going to be fighting a tank. Yeah, I wanted to try it there just to see if it would stun those guys, and it did nothing, so... There it is. Well, it's not a tank per se, it's an APC, but it's going to have a rocket launcher on top of it. This is actually a regular enemy we're going to be fighting from now on whenever the Mercenary unit is involved. I'm going to be using the boss-destroying demolition shot there, the forward-firing one, to take it out quickly. But one thing you can definitely do is wait for, obviously it has a rocket turret and a machine gun turret, and the rockets you can just knock back towards it. You can also get up to it and just melee it to death by standing stationary and using the coffin melee. But when it will explode when you destroy it, which means that you're going to be knocked back quite a bit. More guys when he jumping through the windows here. See, when he lifts up the launcher like that, I can tell he's going to load that grenade in there, and I'm about to get wrecked. So time to get out of the way or do something about him. You can definitely read the enemy's movements in that way, but they rarely do big things like that warrant any kind of behavioral change. Mostly they just kind of stand or, do side rolls like this guy and shoot at you. Oh look, the APC is not completely destroyed. We better do something about that. There we go.
There's a hole in the wall. You can use that. Go through and you'll hit a hallway.
Yeah, you don't say. There's a hole in the wall.
It's so dark. I can't see a thing.
Shh. The enemy is here.
This is probably my least favorite part of this stage. I really do not like this section at all. We're going to be going through several identical hallways with different groups of enemies every time. This group of enemies is pretty standard. We did just get hit by a grenade there at random. They're destroying these valuable documents, whatever they are. Of course we are too. We have no regard for personal property or anything like that. We just like to blow everything up. I don't know why I don't like this particular part so much. It just bothers me, these encounters. So this guy over here with the rocket launcher, like I said, he has the special homing rockets, which are easy to dodge, as I said, because you can, like every rocket, as soon as you see it flying, you're going to want to reflect it back at the enemy that sent it, just because it's free damage on them, and it costs you nothing. You know, you get some damage on them and avoid taking damage yourself. You know, why wouldn't you? It's almost, I dare say, it's almost borderline broken, because the game has such a generous hitbox when it comes to Graves' melee, knocking them back like that. But I really wouldn't have it any other way, but just because of, you know, personal frustration, I would not want it to be any more tricky with the timing. Because I'm not terribly great at the combo-based stuff in action games anyway. Like, I'm trying to play Transformers Devastation now, and the combos are not hard in that game, and most people consider them to be pretty easy by the standards of that genre. But it's not what I'm used to. It'll take me a little while to get the hang of it. Now, the really aggravating part about these couple of hallways is when enemies come in from the hallway behind you as part of the encounter. As you can see, a few enemies came in from behind me, and that's really aggravating considering there's nowhere they could have come from. We just cleared out that room, and they're, you know, big enemies. They're definitely going to get in our way. A couple of good charge shots on that guy. Yeah, if I didn't say so before, I will say it again. It's a pet peeve of mine when games have enemies coming from behind you. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's just bad in my opinion. Look, it did it again, I swear. Like, I just do not like this part of the stage. The splash damage from that rocket hit me before I was able to deflect the one that was actually aimed towards me. Yeah, I've had about enough of this mercenary unit already. I'm ready to fight more Orgmen, honestly. But they didn't know what to think of a zombie wielding a bunch of, you know, handguns that have essentially unlimited ammo. And I don't even want to know how big the cartridge is. I don't know if it's ever explicitly stated in the anime, or it's definitely not stated in the game, but I don't know if it was ever said in the anime, like what the cartridge size of the Cerberus guns are, because you see them load them and they don't look much bigger than like a 45, but they've got to be, just with the power behind those things. There's also a modification that made the right head more effective against, it had a special ammo type that made it more effective against Orgmen and resurrected people, essentially. People that were necrolized, because it destroyed the tissue. We don't have such a luxury in this game to have the weapons be customizable or do any kind of special damage like that, but that would be nice. Alright, I'm just going to hold my ground and get hit, apparently. God! No, I'm going to hold my ground and deflect these rockets back at these guys until they die. There we go. I'm getting pretty good at following up with these melee attacks here. It's not nearly as easy as it sounds. I've got to remember not to keep charging shots like that when I'm trying to go into the next room, because I need to recharge my shields first. There we go. And, see, I interrupted my shield recharge there by shooting. Being too impatient. Alright, so it's going to be time for a boss battle coming up here. This is a robot tank, of all things. And this is actually a very, very difficult fight, because this thing can kill you really fast. I've got several deaths here during my test runs. As you can see, how quickly the machine guns deplete our shields, and it basically has machine guns on every side of it. But I'm going to try to use the center column here as cover. It has several different attack patterns. It has a regular pattern where it'll go back and forth and spin around in a circle while shooting its machine guns at you, and then it will change patterns and go up along the walls and repeat the process. So it will usually slide from one fixed point to another fixed point and then spin around in a circle. And it may do that once or twice before it looks like it's like sliding on its stomach almost. It's a very weird animation before it will go up on the walls and start circling the room like that. Oh great, 2 more? Yeah, this is where the fight gets hard. We're able to fight 2 of them at the same time. Because now we have nowhere to take cover from because they're hitting us from every angle. So I'm going to try to regenerate my shields here. I want to try to kill one of them with a demolition shot, and then just kind of follow up with the other. Because the sooner I get rid of one of them, the sooner I'll be able to actually fight the first one fairly like I did the original one. And yeah, it's very difficult. Unfortunately, that was a completely ineffectual demolition shot, but I managed to get my shields back so I can run away and recover. And that's all I could hope for, really. That was pretty good. I managed to knock them both off the wall there. Yeah, using the shoot dodge mechanic and that kind of thing is definitely going to help to get us out of the way of this thing while it's shooting at us, and using the center column to restore my health. When they're going along the sides like that, you really can't stop to shoot them because they're moving too fast. You can lock onto them, but you're not going to get anywhere really. But you also do not want to use burst mode against these things because they will just annihilate you with their machine guns. That was pretty lucky there. He used so many rockets because I was able to block them all back towards him and hit the other guy in the process too. I'm using the AoE, the Tier 1 AoE demolition shot, purely because I want to ensure that I'm getting damage on both of them regardless of where they are in the room. So if I just shoot the entire room, then obviously I'll be able to hit them. And now the center column is almost completely destroyed, so that's lovely. I'm going to be a little ballsy here and see if I can't take out this last one now. But see, now that the first one, or I'm sorry, the first 2 have been destroyed and I'm left with the last one is that much easier because now I can actually take cover and wait for my shields to regenerate like I did. This is a very, very hard fight. I lost quite a few practice runs to this fight, as a matter of fact. Not too bad.